Luka Doncic is pretty much breaking the scale for how much offense we thought one player could create for their team with the ball. In recent years, we've seen some pretty extreme examples of heliocentric offensive units, such as Russell Westbrook in his MVP season, or James Harden as a Houston Rocket in the D'Antoni era. But even those guys weren't dominating the ball to quite the degree that Doncic has so far this season. At 10 minutes a game, he has by far the highest average time of possession since tracking started in 2014. But the manner in which he consistently generates efficient opportunities for himself and others is so versatile and effective that opposing defenses are left with virtually no answer. The primary source of his offense is his driving game. Because he's not an explosive athlete, his approach is very patient, knowing every angle to attack and perfectly timing each step. He uses a screen to get a switch onto Anfernee Simons, and while seemingly backpedaling to reset for an isolation, he sees Simons do a little forward hop, so he immediately attacks the front foot in that vulnerable position for an easy lane to the cup. It's not about the speed at which he gets downhill, but more so how good he is at changing pace, and how he hides his attack with pauses and hesitations that make him so unpredictable. Notice the exaggerated hesitation dribble that makes Kyrie think he's attacking left, and again, once that front foot is shown, Luka reacts right away by putting it between his legs and attacking the middle with nobody in position to turn him away. His handle is nothing short of elite. He's lengthy but has incredible ball control, keeping it on a string as he throws effective and timely crossovers to change directions without having the quick twitch mobility of a smaller guard. He's also got an absolutely nasty spin move in his arsenal that he loves going to, even simultaneously hesitating and changing speeds while mid-rotation to just leave defenders in the dust. It's nearly impossible to stay in front of him, and once he beats his matchup, he'll use his large frame to block any chance at recovery. His body serves as a shield, holding defenders on his hip by using his shoulder or in jail on his backside, while keeping his dribble live to get all the way to the rim. That combination of size and length also helps him a ton as a finisher, going up big and strong like a forward, often with two hands, and always taking the extra step, patiently getting as deep into the paint as he can, whether that's with a euro or by spinning into a gather where he can again protect the ball with his body. His deceleration may just be the best we've ever seen, truly stopping on a dime while initiating contact to create separation and easier angles around the basket, where his touch is outstanding. He's got it all, from finger rolls and reverses to high arcing scoops off the glass, and even a running hook he'll go to across the lane. He also boasts an uber efficient floater game where he can show off those breaks some more to create a bit of space upon release, or he can fake the floater while coming to a halt, spin back for a fake mid-range jumper, and step into that now open lane for a push shot plus the foul. His footwork down low like this is masterful and makes him a huge threat to still create layups for himself without a live dribble, beautifully using pivots, spins, and fakes to carve out angles, getting his man on the hip, spinning into the lane for a fake jump shot, and stepping through for the scoop and 2 points. That large body and strength of his allows him to just bully his way to the rim when necessary, dropping his shoulder into the core of backing defenders and throwing his weight around to initiate or force all types of contact, which also earns him a great deal of trips to the line. Through 18 games this season, he's attempting 11 free throws a game, good for third in the NBA, and although he hits them at just a 73% clip, it still serves as a huge boost to his overall scoring efficiency. You'll also see him use his size and embrace contact when playing with his back to the basket, especially against smaller defenders where he'll absolutely abuse mismatches by bullying his way to wherever he wants to go. He not only has a solid hook shot, but a lethal post fade over his right shoulder that's virtually impossible to get a good contest on. He likes to create separation with the use of bumps, throwing his shoulder into the chest of defenders before falling away, and even mixing some Dirk Nowitzki action in there with the one-legger. You'll notice that many of these looks come on the left side of the floor, and the reason is because when left one-on-one, his matchup will commonly overplay the right shoulder to take away these fadeaways, leaving the middle open for him to rip through and get more layups. This is a testament to his overall awareness, having a counter for virtually anything his defender tries to do, and again taking advantage through his excellent footwork, using all kinds of pivots and fakes to generate quality shots like a true post technician. He's able to seal position deep in the lane, and while receiving the entry, he fakes a pass to the corner that moves Durant away from a place where he can effectively help. Then he immediately spins in the opposite direction that gives him an angle to the cup where he can score through contact for the and one. This post spin is his go-to move in these spots, especially when further away from the basket where he can turn them into dribble drives and opponents are back to dealing with that slashing. At 5.4 points per game in the post, he's actually leading the entire NBA, a list that includes names like Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, and Zion Williamson, and his efficiency on these possessions is historically good, far eclipsing anyone who comes close to his volume. His ability to get to the rim and score in so many different ways can't possibly be overstated. So far this season, he's been both creating and making these shots at a near league best level while getting to the line at a very healthy rate. He pairs this interior threat with a strong mid-range game that almost serves as a fallback option, offering another dimension of scoring. He's an incredible difficult shot maker, capable of hitting jumpers through great contests or when off balance, using techniques similar to when his back is to the basket to create separation through physicality and shoulder bumps. Of course, like with everything else, he also loves spinning into them, commonly slamming the brakes on drives and spinning back for short fadeaways. And with downhill momentum, he gets that extra dribble under him to more comfortably load up, preferring to pull the trigger off of sidesteps, step backs, or pullbacks instead of flowing right into them going forward. You'll see the same with his pull-up shooting outside the arc, where instead of quick hitters off of screens or in transition, he likes to get momentum going towards his left side or away from the basket. And while he's not an incredible space creator, he does enough for his tough shot making to do the trick. So far this year, he's actually been hitting threes at a career low 30%, and if he can get back up to the 35% he hit in back-to-back seasons before this, we're talking about an elite 3-level scorer who self-generates just about every single shot he takes, which alone would bring some pretty strong offensive value. And we've yet to even mention his best skill on the court. But before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to Basketball Index for helping with this analysis and the making of this video. If you're not familiar with the site, they provide tons of statistical measurements, tools, and easily accessible graphics to further guide your understanding of the sport. I earlier mentioned quite a few of their talent grades, and through their player profiles tab, I can easily compare them to other players around the league. Using Luka's finishing as an example, on this page I'm presented with various metrics detailing his ability to create and make these shots, along with how he stacks up against his peers. This is just one of the many useful tools found on the site that help guide me and many others through their analysis, and by signing up with the code VENUE30, you can get 30% off your first month subscription. I'll leave a link in the description below for anyone interested in signing up, and with that being said, let's take a look at Luka's playmaking. That high volume shot creation of his poses a constant threat on the defense, forcing all types of extra attention, aggressive coverages, and off-ball rotations that open up opportunities for him to capitalize as a passer. Whereas many perimeter creators and primary ball handlers have height limitations that prevent them from making plays over the top of the defense, Luka is 6'7", which gives him a pretty big advantage. Even something as simple as entry passing can get taken for granted. Dallas loves countering switches in the high pick and roll with quick post flashes from the big, which has been a pretty big staple in getting Christian Wood involved. But Luka can also see everything else going on, which allows him to map the entire floor while attacking and pick it apart from the perimeter. Here he comes off a screen and holds his dribble into the corner where he's then triple teamed, yet somehow still finds a layup out of it. It's not just vision and seeing everything unfold that allows him to punish these rotations, but also the anticipation and knowing where an opening will be before it's even shown itself, reading defenses like a book to create high value shots for teammates anywhere on the court. Of course, this means lots and lots of three-pointers, where his ability to get deep into the paint and take those extra steps forces collapses, and did I mention he can get the ball to every inch of the floor with a live dribble? Notice how he never actually looks at his target, staring down the corner during this entire drive, and waiting until the very last second to hit a lifting shooter above the break. What this does is not only pulls defenders away from these outside spot ups, but also buys them more time to load up by forcing a longer closeout, which for weaker shooters can mean the difference between a make and a miss. His 360-degree pass radius from the paint routinely leads to above the break finds like this, and it's that sense of directionality that makes any possible find a viable option. It's also important to note how quickly he releases the ball once he knows where it's going, allowing him to sneak it through even the tightest windows, all while keeping that pinpoint accuracy. To make these delivery angles a bit easier, he'll often use jump passes for fastballs right over the top, or he'll go airborne like this as a way to manipulate the defense. He attacks the top foot of Durant to get into the lane with him on the hip, stops on a dime to spin back for one of those mid-range fadeaways, and when two jump with him on the contest, that leaves a wide open dump off to Powell under the basket. He'll also use his eyes as a way to move defenders around, commonly faking three-point assists to open up more stuff down low, like here where he comes off the screen and draws a hard double and pulls back to the logo to force Gary Trent into a 2-on-1 situation. He looks to the wing while loading up for an overhead pass, which sends Trent on a closeout, but the ball instead gets whipped into the lane for a dunk. Again, he draws a double team off of the initial screen that puts Ja Morant in a 2-on-1, stares at Bullock just long enough for McGee to slide right past Ja, then fires one right under the basket for free points. All of NBA history's premier passers use their eyes as a tool in some way, but they're not all quite as creative as Luka is with their deliveries. He kind of just makes up passes as he goes along, not at all afraid to take risks or throw some pretty weird ones, like when he goes backwards over his head, or here where he goes to a spin move in the paint and recognizes Bull helping from the corner, only to leave his feet and throw a no-look behind the back right in the shooting pocket for a comfortable look from three. Behind the back passes are one of his go-tos, especially when starting a drive and getting it to shooters near the top of the key or in the pick and pop. He also has a vast collection of lobs he can use to get the ball above the rim, primarily with soft touch floats right over the middle. He's usually very patient, probing deep into the paint before tossing them, but if there's an opening early, he'll comfortably throw them from outside and with his offhand. With more speed going to the rim, he can scoop them right off the ground, almost like a layup, or hook them parallel to his side, once more showing off that directionality. He's elite at making plays from the post as well. From a standstill, he requires extra attention, especially against mismatches where he's usually just doubled, and that court vision allows him to find shooters and cutters moving all over the floor. To top it all off, he's great at throw-ahead outlet passes that start fast breaks or just push the pace, and because he pulls down about 8 defensive rebounds a game, these opportunities consistently present themselves. All in all, whether you're talking about volume of creation, quality of shots being generated, or the type of coverages he forces defenses into, Luka Doncic has pretty comfortably established himself as the league's best on-ball playmaker at this point, and one of the very best the NBA has ever seen. On top of his high volume, efficient 3-level scoring, and the versatility in which he attacks, he's a legitimate one-man offense, an all-around basketball genius, and arguably the best offensive player on the planet. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website, podcast, and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of Luka and just how good you believe he is. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.